And of course, long live to Double HP, Jabulani Tambo there. Bosso Kimang. Yes, he is the boss indeed. Yesterday, out in Mabatu, and I want to say thank you to the people of the Northwest. Tobacco, Hai Babu, Koniwi Piri, Maralebuha. Bakileka Makata Namani. Hotaho, Hororisa, Liina Leu, Laha Jabulani Tambo. What an occasion, really. To really lift out. It was a memorial lecture for WHP, focusing on a big question of what we call language activism. And WHP indeed was a language activist who did not become shy to use Setswana in a very creative way and put it on the map as part of the genre called Motswako. WHP, truly putting Buku, Nibupirima, on the map, truly putting Setswana at the center of the entertainment industry. So we are there to celebrate that, but also to provoke conversations about language activism. And my view is that you cannot talk about language activism without talking about cultural activism. And it's like everything else that has gone south, in as far as activism is concerned, cultural activism is almost non-existent. How do you explain the cosmetic use of our languages 25 years into democracy? How do you explain that you've got 11 official languages, but those languages have become poorer in the New South Africa? Which university specializes in developing isiXhosa? Which university specializes in developing isiZulu? Hayo. Haide. We've got 24 universities. What's stopping those universities to adopt one of these languages and develop it? And I was saying there yesterday to say, you know, you can say whatever you like about Afrikaners. Yeah, those people know how to exercise power when it comes to their culture. They arrived, forget they arrived with their dromedaries. Baba kubile probably ko watswante ba le ba tsamaya. Ba fitla mo ba sena le language eo. Afrikaans is actually bits and pieces of, just assembled from Dutch, from English, from, when you listen to it, actually, in today's standards, you'd call it Tsotital, really, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not even being spicy. But they embraced it and entrenched it. They named everything from a shoestring to a mountain, to a valley, to a river, to a road, everything you can think of. It's named after anything you can think of. Even Verwoerd had a whole town named after him, but Verwoerdsburg. If you are young and you don't know what that is, Centurion. In Verwoerdsburg. Believe it or not. This is how brazen the Afrikaner was. Ufita moka bow tuma. Hafitam. Orawa to Baba tells him more. Are look Luna, to only for 13% of the land in Nammu. The reason I'm raising the issue of land is that you can't talk about culture without talking about land. Because intrinsic in the land is the preservation of culture. And so when the ANC was formed in 1912, they went song and dance to say, we want the land, and then they go to Kliptown and say, hey, the land belongs to all who work it. Come 1994, they removed the land from the table. It's unbelievable, actually. And so you get surprised when our culture is desecrated, because you took something that sits at the center of culture and discarded it as a matter that's not important enough to be a deal breaker at CODESA. And yes, of course, I'm speaking 30 years later with the advantage of hindsight, but it doesn't mean we mustn't critique the rubbish. How do you form an organization because of land? Go to Kliptown and say land is important, and then come to 1994 and then suddenly it's not important anymore. And I was asking the question last night, if the Afrikaners and the English and the colonialists, jointly and severally, removed black people from their land, right, which they used to own 100%, and put them in 13% of the land, where are the graves of those people? It means these people stole their land on top and below. They stole even the graves and desecrated the graves. Because that's all you can explain. The things that are happening here. Youngsters raping grandchildren, husbands beating and killing their wives. It's all because our ancestors are not resting in peace. Their graves have been desecrated by these chaps. And so you expect culture to be secure. No. Language, forget it. It will always be a cosmetic thing. It's open there. And if you can go beyond 1 minute, hey, our phones will start ringing. Hey, what's happening? Is this who calls the FM now? It's bad. What has happened to our culture in this country and our languages. And then, we've been in power for 25 years, we're still battling to rename some of the things. What is centurion? Here is centurion. These people mention the thing, but they name the thing Verwurzberg. When you rename it, you name it centurion. Come on, centurion. And then you neglect this thing so much, and then you think some symbolism and cosmeticism is going to help us. You then go, a town that's impoverished with 40% of unemployment and 40% of poverty is called Mafikeng. You change it now to Mahikeng. You take the money you're supposed to use for schooling, for potholes, and then you change the name now so that you can feel revolutionary about it. Northwest, it must be one of the poorest places there where people struggle with basics, with water, with whatever. There was a big discussion here about renaming that province Moses Kotane. Baba Tota, 1 billion rand to cover up their neglect and their death of activism. Because if they were so conscious, they should have named it, when they were naming province in the first place, they shouldn't have named it Northwest. They should have named it properly. Now, after all the road signs are written Northwest, plate numbers are written Northwest, stationaries, they want to rename it with a cost of 1 billion rand. That must be the worst rubbish that our people who are suffering must be subjected to. And that's not you can't take a shortcut to culture. And Newsroom Africa reported in December, hey, but there's a PhD in Setswana. That's a big thing. I don't know who was the reporter. 15 minutes. The first PhD in Setswana. You must be ashamed. Not after 30 years of that university there in the Northwest existing. After 30 years, you're only producing the first PhD in Setswana. We are so tone deaf, eh? Double HP, language activism, has pointed the way to say you do not have to apologize about who you are. And anybody who makes you apologize is bloody racist to start with. We're going to win this battle. But we're not going to win it if we don't hold our leaders to account on what is it that they have done with our culture that has been desecrated. What is it that they have done about the graves of our people that are scattered all over the hinterlands of this continent? What is it that they have done about repatriating people who have been killed in exile because they were running away from this monster called apartheid? In Angola alone, there's over 320 graves. When last did you hear anybody talk about repatriating those? But I told him more, it's going to be too much trouble. Let's just put a monument and so. So your ancestor spirits floating somewhere, thousands of kilometers from here, and you expect them to rest in peace. You expect them to believe that now you are in charge. You expect them to believe that, oh, this is the freedom we fought and died for. It's a disgrace, South Africa. But not as disgraceful as the Secretary of State of the United States. Take a listen.
South Africa is debating an amendment to permit the expropriation of private property without compensation. That would be disastrous for that economy, and most importantly for the South African people.
His president called this land, Africa, a shithole. Right? So no surprises there when he comes here and tells us, and be rude to us as a guest on this continent, to come and tell us that to restore our culture, to restore our dignity, is going to be disastrous for the country. Hey, can have somebody told these people, there's no longer superpower and so on here, man. Policemen of the world. You got to be kidding me. But that's the point. And we fall into that trap, because the reason why the land issue is not yet resolved is precisely because people would rather keep things peaceful, man. You know, if you say expropriation, and you are saying people who have held on to this land, no matter how they got it, they must keep it. They must keep to it because this is going to be too much trouble. Hence the death of cultural activism. Until we resolve the land issue, we can forget it about restoring the dignity of our people. You can forget it. Of course, Parliament was a lot of news. I don't know whether we'll have enough time to take a peek. Let's take a peek at what happened in Parliament this week.
Now, my question to Honorable Malema is that gender-based violence is happening at your house. The matter has been dragging for too long. Members of the EFF, instead of them condemning the issue, they decided to crack a joke so that they can deviate the matter on Thursday night. Because they knew about the matter for a very long time. You are abusing your wife. We want you to stand here in front of the nation.
Question must be brief,
in front of the nation, and assure us, if the matter is true. If the matter is true, are you going to apologize?
I've never laid a hand on my wife. I asked that question precisely because I got information that the president used to beat his wife, Noma Zizi, the late wife of the president. May her soul rest in peace.
Women in this country suffer from post-traumatic stress and from stress disorders because we are under siege. We are at war with one another. And when this kind of thing is made light of to make political point scoring a big deal in this House, it is appalling. And if anyone in this country thinks that what just happened in this House is acceptable, they certainly need their heads read. And we as Parliament now need to stand together and say enough is enough. This House is an honourable House. The decorum must be restored. And if you cannot behave yourself in an honourable fashion, you do not belong in the servant public Parliament of South Africa.
They undermine the resolve of this House that we demonstrated in the joint sitting that we had in September. We all met here solemnly committed to addressing this issue. I think this is something that we should, Madam Speaker, Chair of Council of Provinces, apologize to South Africans for the manner in which this matter was debated. Honorable Malema, as the allegation was made against you, I felt for Mandwa, your wife. Because it was uncalled for, I must say. It was improper. It was not correct for it to be raised. And if I can offer an apology to you about this, I would like to, because it was uncalled for. And Mandwa responded. You have raised the issue of my late former wife, Noma Zizi. She is not here to respond for herself. We should not resort to using issues such as these, as it was used also against you, to politicize and to trivialize an important issue that affects so many women in our country.
All right, of course, breaking news this evening is that Malema has since apologized to the president in this regard. I don't have enough time now, but on Sunday, I'm gonna visit this issue. And I want you to think about it at the weekend. Ugly as it is, do you think, right, there is a part of it that says that we are maybe beginning to make a habit of calling people out, on the one hand. On the other, that because of the sensitivity of the matter, that people have now found a way in which this can also be used to scandalize each other. Maybe the answer is somewhere in between.